Hey, it's Jennifer here. Hey guys. I just wanted to see how you're doing today. There's a lot of moving parts in this world right now, and aligning with our purpose for 2025 is kind of a loaded statement because the infrastructure of the world is changing so fast politically, uh, I would say globally as a result of the politically. Uh, and I would say also within the infrastructure of how we deal with our daily lives, the influence of AI, quantum computing. Uh, so much is going to happen in the next 5 or 6 years, but this year is going to be the catapulting year. And even if you think you're unplugged from it all, the pace of change is going to exponentiate, which means that there is going to be a lot of opportunity. So economically, personally, with respect to your creativity. And I've been really plugging in lately. I don't know about you, but I've been plugging in lately to some very highfalutin people, no one in a not conspiracy based or political based or anything like that. Just people, because I was an economist, I'm really looking at what's happening in the world. And what I'm seeing is that the way we play together in the world is going to shift a lot, which means that the infrastructure of the economics in this world is going to shift in this country, in other countries, is going to shift a lot. Our entire frame of reference for our lives is going to shift a lot. That can be pretty disconcerting. Welcome to the Thriving Life Podcast. I'm Jennifer Huff. I'm on a mission to empower you with the knowledge, experiences, and tools to turn your dreams into reality. If you're ready for permanent shifts in your ability to stay unstuck, make glass ceilings your new floors, and want practical tools rooted in applied physics and neuroplasticity to live a life of fulfillment, this podcast is for you. Let's get thriving forward. We're coming up to a year end. Now, a year end is already intensive, okay? Year end is already something where the energetics of being in November and December, whereby we finish, several high holidays for many different religions. Of course, we have the main Christian holiday coming up. Even if you're not Christian or Jewish or Muslim, even if you're non-denominational or agnostic, I don't really care. Physics is physics, and the physics of spirituality, the physics of who we are actually does matter. And because of those laws of physics, everyone is looking for, in North America, to be Thanksgiving. For Americans, Canadians is in October. And then there's, of course, a new year coming up for most of the world, not everybody though. There's also a beautiful time for, everyone feels the energetics of it. There's a beautiful time of love and the birth of the person who represents forgiveness and unconditional love, which is Yeshua. So that energy is in the house. And then if you take that energy of completion and figuring out how to be unconditional with ourselves and unconditional with our others and forgive things in the past year and be grateful for the things in the past year. If you consider all that energy and you combine it with the fact that in the free world, a major force in that free world is about to have a completely different kind of leadership, and the relationship to other major countries in the world is going to shift a lot. One must understand that you can try to isolate. It's not going to work. You can try to be resilient, but the entire atmosphere in which you swim is going to change. You can have a plan, but everything's going to change so much that your plan, it's one of those things that the universe is going to laugh at next year. Doesn't mean that you shouldn't have one. It just means that there are characteristics that need to go away and be cleared from your way of being. Practices that you've probably had for decades. And in the years to come, the implications of what's going on is that in the years to come, it becomes essential to be able to be deeply present to the shifts, incredibly malleable. The characteristics to let go of would be any form of feeling like you need to have things under control, or the feelings of needing to be a perfectionist. This is what's going on. We are at the end of an era. I know for some of you who are anxious and nervous, it feels like a little overwhelming, but you're not wrong. That feeling that you have is the end of probably a 4-decade-old era, which is most of, if not all of, some of your lives. And that era is an era of, especially in developed nations, an era of feeling relatively stable, somewhat predictable, little bit off here and there. But we're about to go through a series of quantum leaps. So that means transcending certain ways of being, transcending certain ways you relate to your culture, transcending certain ways that you relate to peace and what peace actually is. And we're going to have to clear the decks of decades of ways of being to have a blank slate on which to create how we're going to be in years to come. In the next year, there's going to be an inauguration in the United States that's going to affect the entire globe. In that change, completely from a nonpartisan place, I don't care about what party you're affiliated with, but in that change, whether you're looking forward to them or petrified, it's going to be much more than you think, which means that our operating system, the way we're plugged into life, the way we understand life, the way we dance with other people, our infrastructures, the way we behave in the world of legalities, how we manage our money, all of it's going to shift. Your presence is going to matter thousands of times more than it does now. So one of the things that I have done every year at the end of the year, personally, probably for the last 8 years, maybe 9, maybe. No, I think it's 11. At the end of the year, what I'll do is I will look at my ways of being. And I have this process that was given to me. It was a culmination of a Tibetan way to end the year, a beautiful process combined with some now based really powerful processes to basically clear my energy, forgive, thank, complete, absolutely clear the deck for the year to come. And these 3 exercises have changed my life. They have me not be taken out. It has me grow bigger than the year that is to come, so that I actually include anything that can happen, such that I remain in my flow and in my presence. Like I said, that's going to matter thousands of times more, because with the changes, your mind and your historical based brain that has memorized things, the things that you've memorized as to the way that you plug into the world, they're not going to matter that much, because you're going to have to learn a whole new ways. So then the other thing I do at the end of the year, at the beginning of the next year, so I take that ending, do an exercise over the course of the days until I do the second part 2 that actually tap me into the whole year to come so that I start to understand the skills that are necessary. I start to make my plans around that bigger picture that I start to see. I ask myself, I think the second part of the exercise is 5 powerful questions that basically completely put me into a plugged in state. So not only do I feel safe in the year to come, but I actually start to feel excited instead of overwhelmed. You don't want to feel braced. Bracing puts you into your amygdala. It puts you into fight or flight mode. And fight or flight mode takes you out of possibility mode in a year that's going to be filled with opportunities, right? That process I used to do personally and keep it all to myself, like not sharing it with anyone. Well, I didn't really think it was a thing that people that would, but then I realized starting last year or the year before, how powerful that process was. It's like, oh my God, I have to start to share this process with everybody. I wanted to share one final piece. So I'm going to show you how this shows up in the world, like just in a very minor, local, in my life way. One is, yesterday I was doing something and I happened to be in a church and there was this family that was in a car. They clearly had been from Mexico or Venezuela or something. And this man looked really distraught. And he said, listen, the place we're staying doesn't have warm enough blankets and where we're staying is really cold. And I thought of this afterwards. I realized that his family might be sleeping in the car. And I'm like, oh my God. So he asked, does the church have any blankets? Now, I wasn't working at the church. It was a spiritual gathering. And I realized like the church is probably a hub for stuff. I bet you anything they're storing clothes and stuff. And so I went back in and the people that I was with, we were just talking about it. I'm like, are there any of them? They're like, we don't know. We're just teaching a program here. And so we went upstairs and we found blankets. And one of the women is more connected to the owners of the church. And she was a little bit scared to like be going into the stuff. But I mean, literally, this is who the stuff is for. Remember, we had a hurricane here, right? And so she wrote me a text saying, I don't know if we should have done that or not. No. I want you to know that, everything is so crazy right now. I hope it was okay. I'm sure, and the church told me that absolutely that's what it's there for. But I just want you to know. And she was a little bit apologetic. And I was like, interesting. We are in a process here because I didn't know either, and I just love that she said something, right? And then so that's one thing. And then I had a beautiful, dear, dear friend today and client, beautiful colleague. She said to me, Jennifer, there's something that you did. I'm sure it was inadvertent, but you did this. And it's like, oh my God. And I'm like, oh my God, that must have hurt you so much. And I didn't realize I was so in my flow at the time where I did the thing. And I'm like, oh my God, I'm such an idiot. Like, wow. And I just felt, awful and apologized deeply and realized it came from over carrying something in these times of great change. And I'm like, so sorry. And then, even Adam, who's helping me here, sent me this beautiful email that he had sent this morning, which I know was deeply true of him, his heart being poured out to somebody else. And then there was something else that happened. Anyways, this is just in the last 3 days, you guys, right? People, and I got to say, the traffic in Asheville, people are not, like, accidents are happening everywhere because people are not present. Stuff's happening, you guys. Whole families are breaking up in the United States over the divide between different parties. That's what they want us to do. Just divide. Think of people over there as other, but they're not. They love their families. They want their kids to grow up with opportunities. They want a home. They want to feel safe. we're all the same at our basis. And that 20% of us that's the same, that's not the badass unicorn, but that 20% of us that's the same, that's where we need to come from, right? The problem is when we start getting into the base of our brain, into the amygdala, into that fight or flight, what happens is it's all about me or you. You'll be all about yourself. And all of a sudden we're protection mode and we're protecting, we're separating from others. We don't want to be hurt again. And when you're driving like that, it's not good. And when you're at Thanksgiving like that, it's suboptimal because we start to get on guard. And then sometimes we go unconscious, and that's okay as long as you're someone that lets love win, that lets congruence win, that lets the third entity solution that comes from the polarity win. As long as your curiosity about the deeper solutions win, then you'll be okay. But that's why this reset and renew, such that you don't live your next year and you don't get triggered, you don't get taken out by what's going to happen. You literally are out ahead of it. You have grace for yourself and others. It's a big deal. But that's the kind of stuff. I've had just a friend right now tell me that they're not having Thanksgiving together in the United States because they have listened to all the polarizing voices, and now the family is dividing. So this is happening all around. I'm going to a meeting in 2 weeks about how to rebuild Asheville, not about who's doing what wrong. And being in that energy is a blessing that needs to be paid forward so that we can all thrive. You too. And I want to remind everybody, we did Finding Peace in Times of Great Change with different friends of mine who are brilliant geniuses. You can always go to YouTube. I just recommend going back to those and listening to those every day. It was just, a pleasure to be able to do that and to bring you people I adore. Make sure you follow us and like us, and it's there for you. You could listen to it all next year if you want. Well, I love you guys. I'm looking forward to next Monday, and we'll be talking about, sharing about some things very much related to the month of December and that energy of completion and being able to navigate some of the, next month, we'll be talking about being able to navigate this stuff with family and communication and being able to be powerful through the conversations. So glad you're here. Really, my heart is so full. Truly. Just go forth and multiply this energy. That it's doable. That we're all in this together. There ain't nothing wrong. We're all good. Love you guys. Yeah, let's jump in together and get personal about how we navigate the end of a year where there's lots of stuff going on. Hey, I deeply appreciate you joining me on the Thriving Life podcast. In these times of great change, it's so good to come together. I'm on a mission to empower you with the knowledge, experiences, and tools to turn your dreams into reality. Your dreams matter. Thank you for joining me because you, like me, are a movement of one to many. Your thoughts and suggestions really matter to me, so please join me on LinkedIn at Jennifer Huff or on Instagram at The Wide Awakening and post a comment about what you got from the show or drop me a DM. I love that. Make sure to subscribe so you never miss an episode. And if you enjoy today's show, please leave a review or many reviews. Share the love. It really helps us to reach more people, and that is what a movement is all about. Until next time, keep thriving.